In this episode, we had the honor of talking with That Witch Karina from The Witch's Inn. And there is so much magic that we dove into.
Yeah, she's going to share with us her inner rebel story. She has so many layers to it. You're not going to want to miss out.
You're listening to the Red Couch Rebels, a safe, comfy space for vulnerability and self-growth. I'm Jenny.
And I'm Erin.
We are seekers and self-advocates.
Yeah, we're not your doctors.
Or your therapists.
No, we're just fellow seekers on our own journeys of self-discovery.
Explore your inner rebel with us.
Let's sink in. I am so glad that you are here and you are our very first guest, That Witch Karina from The Witch's Inn. When Jenny and I first talked about doing a podcast, I'm like, oh, we got to have Karina on.
Absolutely. No doubt about it.
So thank you for agreeing to jump in and having a really heart-centered, raw, real chat with us today. How are you feeling?
Being here. Good. Yeah, I'm feeling really good. Yeah, it's been like a crazy couple weeks, couple months, but today I'm good. Yeah.
Day by day. That's all we can do sometimes.
Yeah.
How about you two? How are you doing?
I've just been looking forward to this for so long. My intention for this is just to watch it unfold. Like when all the beautiful conversations that you and I have shared over the years, it's like that's my intention, is to just let it unfold and connect at the heart and see what comes up. That's all my intention is.
Yeah. I'm here for the magic. Karina, you and I have, been on a few calls together, and I follow you on social, and you've done a tarot reading for me, which was lovely, and I always want to do more.
Of course.
But yeah, I'm super excited to dive in with you today, and just like I said, watch where the magic takes us, where things unfold, what we talk about, how we grow together.
Yeah.
And hear about your rebel.
Thanks.
Yeah. Did you have any intentions when this kind of came up? Was there something that you kind of set your heart on what you wanted this to be?
I think like what I've been working on, I think always is just like this like reclamation of like self and like self-identity. I am just over a month away from a year anniversary. And so it is this like, I feel like I'm really in like that depth of like the birthing process of 1 year for me. So that intention is like, oh, okay, I haven't really told my story since this all kind of started to unfold for me since my surgery. And so it's like this opportunity to tell it in a place that I feel welcome and that I feel safe and secure, but also in this like rebellion, right? I love it. So yeah, I guess my intention is just authenticity to who I am today, right now.
And I've been trying to support from the sidelines since your surgery. Do you want to share the surgery?
Yeah. So I had gastric bypass surgery April 25th of 2023. And it's been like a long process in the sense that it was about a year and a half ago, but like to the surgery date that I decided to embark on it. And Erin, when we had first met, you were very open that you had your own surgery within that. And so you have been like a tremendous support in allowing my experience to be my experience, but also in this place of like, yeah, I get that. Like, like I get that for sure. So yeah, it's been very interesting.
It's a common enough surgery, but I don't think you often hear people talk about it openly. How raw the surgery makes you emotionally. The preparation beforehand, and for me it was, I thought I was prepared, but it was like then you dive in and you're like, oh, okay, here we go, like, and so much more, so many more layers become revealed as the weight drops off and the estrogen dumps into your blood system, right?
Yeah.
So, uh, yeah, you did a lot of work leading up to the surgery.
Yeah.
Do you want to touch on that at all?
Sure. Yeah, I think it's like it's hard for me not to touch on it without kind of like telling my story a little bit.
Yeah,
So if
yeah,
that's if that's okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
dive in.
Yeah,
Totally.
okay. So yeah, I would say that my journey um going right back to the beginning, right? I grew up with an 80s mom in the sense that Jane Fonda, let's Atkins, let's Weight Watchers, let's do all this stuff, right? And I remember being like 7 or 8, getting up at the crack of dawn with my mom to watch her doing like Richard Simmons, Sweating with the Oldies, and every once
With
in a
the
while.
leggings, did she
Yeah,
have the little
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
gotta take
And
pictures of leg warmers?
exactly, exactly. So I would say, I've always been very open in the sense that I do have a history of disordered eating and disordered exercise. Officially diagnosed when I was 25. But I would say that that really started around the age of probably 7 for me. At 9 years old, I was put on my first diet because you don't want to get fat. The king side of the family has really big hips, and you don't want to have really big hips. It's not ladylike. And not shaming my mom or anything like that, but it was the culture of the time. It was the culture that she grew up in, and it is what it is. But yeah, so at 25, I found out, or I realized, yeah, I think I'm a disordered eater. I think I am in this real not this great place in my life. And so I went through 2 outpatient treatment programs for binge eating. And that really brought me to this place where of spiritual tending to myself in a way that I had never spiritually tended to myself before. And although I grew up in a household that was very spiritual, right? We grew up religious, Anglican. I was in the church quite often, church choir, church nursery, going to, nursing homes and other places to just really like, share joy and stuff like that, right? Um, and the paranormal was part of that as well. My mom read tea leaves. My dad definitely believed in ghosts and stuff, and took my first intuition class when I was like 19. And, so it never really seemed like it was something that was necessarily part of my identity until after 25, when I started spiritually tending. And I'll define spiritual tending to me in the sense that I take care of the inner thought process of who I am, right? So I'll use it in the case of intuitive eating, right? So if I hear myself say, I want to have a cookie, it's like, okay, yeah, that sounds great. Um, is that something that we want right now because we're craving something sweet? Or are we wanting that because maybe we're needing sweetness out of life in some way, shape, or form? And so when I say spiritual tending, what I mean is actually kind of like getting curious about this inner voice that comes up. And it's like, let's explore that. And like, let's actually, if you were dealing with a child, or not dealing, but caring for a child, and saying,
Sometimes you're dealing with a
yeah,
child.
sure. you know, what is it that you want? What is it that you need? Can we put a voice to that? Can we get curious with it? And maybe we don't know, and that's okay, right? So that's what I mean when I say spiritually tending to that inner voice that says, I want more, or I need something. So, to me, that's kind of, what intuition is. But anyways, so yeah, at 25, that's where I really started to listen to this. And it didn't seem like this place that was just like, oh, well, everyone has body issues. Everyone, doesn't like to eat or likes to eat or wants this or wants that, right? Like, I was like, no, like, I don't feel good. Like, something here is wrong and I need help because I don't want to do this on my own. Not that I can't do this on my own. I don't want to do this on my own. So yeah, it was from there that I um actually kind of came into this place of calling myself witch and being in this place where it's like, yeah, I am extremely intuitive and I have always like listened and responded to my needs in really great ways. But what was happening was that I was letting this, like, the authority that I had assigned to other people in my life take over my own inner authority. And so really at that time it was this reclamation of like, no, I get to decide. I get to decide. And like, you might not like, my mom was still alive at that time. You might not like that I say I have an eating disorder. And you might not like that I 100% correlate this eating disorder with watching you disorder eat and disorder, validate yourself. But that's not for me to like hold for you. Like that you can hold that and I'm going to allow me to stand in when I need to stand in and build out from there. So, yeah, that's really where this kind of began. And at 25, I would have never, I'm 36 now, I never would have imagined myself getting gastric bypass surgery. It would have been a huge red flag for me, like, and it would have been an absolute no. Um, and it was over the course of spiritual tending that I realized that I could no longer deny that the weight that I was holding in on my body was not actual, like, it was fat in the sense of, it's very real, but it was an emotional weight. And that in order for me to let it go, just like me going out and being like, hey, I think I'm a disordered eater. I need help. I need someone to help guide me. Um, I knew that I needed help with regards to someone kind of clamping off a part of my body so that the weight could actually come off and I could like begin to heal in a new way through this like evolution of what has been this disordered eating. So, it's been interesting because a lot of folks met me through the reclamation and through the um, process of me falling deeply, deeply in love with my body and the way, and being very open about my disordered eating and the healing work that I've done around it. And so, when I said, yeah, just so it was actually yesterday, a year ago yesterday, that I told my followers, I just need you all to know that I'm getting this surgery. I don't know when it's going to be, but it's going to be soon. And I had a lot of fallout from that and I understand why. But yeah, it's been beautiful. And, it's been an interesting process of coming in and listening and spiritually tending and allowing thoughts that would have been an absolute no for me in the past be like, actually, this is the best course of action for me now. And that's okay.
So I just want to bounce back a little bit to when
Mhm.
you were diagnosed as having a binge eating disorder. Your mom
Mhm.
was not open to hearing or receiving that.
In the sense of her having caused that, not caused it, but been in direct relation
That makes
to
sense.
it. So she
Yeah.
was very much like, oh, that's interesting. I don't know what that means for you, but like, okay, I trust that you're going to do what you need to do. Um, but when I tried to have a discussion around what I would maybe say our codependency around our eating disorders. Because that is a lot of how my mother and I bonded, was through the latest diet trend and workouts and stuff other than spirituality. It was like that's not me though. And so I was like, okay. And I had to like, be in this place where it's like, okay, I guess that's mine then. And I'll, in the sense of like, I'm going to hold that as an adult, knowing that this is my truth. It doesn't have to be your truth. But I'm not going to deny my truth just because it's not yours, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Especially when you have that relationship that is so focused around weight, and now your path is now forked. And
Right.
if they're not open to exploring that with you, especially when there's familial patterns of it, right?
Mhm.
Then it's like, okay, then I guess I'm taking this fork on my own.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
Can you expound a little bit on the backlash, I believe was the word you used, after you announced it?
Yeah, the fallout. I was
Fallout?
curious about
Yeah.
that too. When
yeah.
I think we could maybe make some assumptions, but like
Sure.
I'd love to hear specifically when you say you had that fallout and people, probably, unfollowing or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm curious what you would expand on there, and building off of that, what beliefs did you have to change? Because you
Sure.
said at 25 you'd have a hard no. You never thought
Yeah.
Mhm.
that was a possibility for you.
Yeah. So the fallout was a lot of just silent unfollows, right? And like, again, that's okay. I did have a few folks drop into like my DMs or emailing me asking like, "Are you sure? Are you sure that this is the right decision for you? Have you tried XYZ? Um, have you tried?" The one that got me the most was like, someone came to me and said, "Doctors are always going to push weight loss. Why do you need to lose weight?" And I welcomed the conversation because it was with a woman who I had spoken with before around disordered eating. And so, what I had simply said was, because I am at a point in my journey where this weight is no longer, I no longer love it, in the sense that it now feels kind of like an ex boyfriend that I'm just continuing to enter a pattern with because it feels comfortable. Do you
You're
know what
just
I mean?
dragging him around with you everywhere.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I had significantly changed my lifestyle over the last 3 years before getting the surgery. Um, I like to tell the story around how my husband and I, after my father had passed away, looked at our eating out bill, and we were spending $1,000 a month on eating out. Like,
Right.
like, that's a lot of
Yeah.
fucking money. Sorry, but like, and we were like, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. And so we were like, okay, something needs to change. And what needs to
Mhm.
change is that we need to start working on convenience, which was needed. It was needed at that time, and start working in inconvenience, meaning we need to do the hard thing and start cooking at home. And that looked like,
Yeah.
it didn't matter what the meal was, didn't matter if it was chicken fingers and fries every single night, because that was just easiest to make. We need to get that bill down so that we can start cooking at home. And so within like three months, we were like, okay, we're sick of box food. Let's start looking at like, we ordered like from HelloFresh or something like that. Not sponsored, but like, something like that. So to get us cooking again and stuff, right? And then like we were walking a lot more. I was, with me taking back inconvenience in my life, I was learning to say no. So like my lifestyle had significantly changed. And I did see my weight drop by like 20 or 30 pounds. But slowly it would begin to creep back up with no changes, right? In the sense of I was still doing the healthier thing and it would start to creep back up. And so it was like, okay, this to me now seems like survival. Like my body
Mm.
is going, I don't know how not to live in a bigger body. And so it almost became like a disorder in the sense that like yeah, my body would go in fight or flight and be like, something must be happening here. You know, I've had a lot of emotional trauma in my life. So what has made us feel safe in the past? Our weight. So let's put the weight back on because we can't handle this anymore. And so, you know, in that two-part question, that was a discussion that I did have with that person, being like, yeah, I appreciate the love and caring and like the yeah, the concern, because it really was a place of loving concern that this person was reaching out and being, you know, like, have you tried everything? Why do you need to actually like mutate the body in some way, shape, or form in order to feel your best? And ultimately, it came down to just me being like, because this is what my body is telling me it needs. Because this is what my
Mm.
body has said. Like, if you want change, I need to do the hard thing because I've always needed to do the hard thing. I've always needed to have that kind of like bump up against hardship in order for me to truly sometimes hear and do the thing, right? And it's like I'm okay with that now. But because it's a conscious choice. It's not, you know, what I would like to call a tower moment, which is a tarot card where it's like everything just crumbles and falls and it's a surprise. I'm in control of that tower moment. And so um yeah, it was a lot of the fallout was a lot of concern and then a lot of people being like, well, if this is your choice, I don't think I can follow you anymore. And it was like, and that's okay. And that's okay. Because if that's our fork in the road, then I'm okay with that. And like and I said to folks was, I'm proud of you for listening to your inner voice and hearing what feels good and authentic for you at this time. Because by no means do I want you to just be following me. One, maybe out of like to just watch and see like, oh, what is going to happen here? Maybe out of spite, maybe out of that own disordered of, you know, when you have a platform, you're seen as an authority figure sometimes. So I want
Mhm.
to just follow blindly this authority figure. No, like I want you to do what feels right for you. So that was some of that fallout. And I will say I wasn't met with anger. It was a lot of confusion and a lot of like, this doesn't seem like you because you love yourself so much. And so in that second part of the question, although I did kind of answer it, I would say that from 25 to 34, when I made that decision for myself, I had come into so much of a deeper love of self that it really was this place where I was like, this weight is killing me. Like it's killing me. I wake up every day, sorry, it's a little emotional, tired, in
Mhm.
pain,
Mm.
and like feeling stuck. And I don't want that anymore. Having two parents that passed away from cancer, having my maternal line women not make it to 65 4 generations back, I looked at my nieces and nephews and I went, I want to do everything I can to be here for them.
Mm.
Like at 80 and 90, like I want to see them grow up. I want to see their kids. I want to maybe see their kids. Like I want to be that crazy aunt that just like gets to love beyond all measure. And like I knew I wouldn't be able to do that at the size that I was. And it didn't mean that there wasn't, you know, if I, you know, at any time I can pass away, but like I wanted to give myself a fighting chance. And I think life circumstances, but also this deep desire of listening and being like, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to be here, is what ultimately kind of changed my mind from that hard no to that, like, yeah, it was my decision, but it's my decision because I want to keep showing up for these people that I truly love and admire in my life.
It was a choice of self-love. I
Mhm.
think so many people see it from the outside as if you're doing it from a place of lack. And some for some people it can be that. But
Sure.
what I'm hearing you express is you were at the point of self-love and you knew it was a step that you needed to take to continue on that journey of taking care of yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can we layer this with sexuality?
Sure. I
Because
love it.
I think that we are, so the listeners are missing a layer here that's really important because you've, as long as I've known you, have been very open with your sexuality, which I admire. And you, in the way that you were confident and sharing your story at any size, I think you were a role model for larger women, for self loving your body as it was, right? Health at every weight, or I can't remember what the
Mhm.
acronym is for that, but owning your sexuality at any weight. Can
Mhm.
you speak to that a little bit, and maybe some of the people that felt betrayed, maybe? Is that a good word?
Sure.
By your
Yeah.
choice?
Yeah, I think that would be a great representation of what it is, and, like, you know, I will own that for them, that I can understand why you would feel betrayed, when I am someone who is such an advocate for, and still am, body liberation in the sense of sexuality and what that looks like. So, yeah, I'm gonna, say I'm a Scorpio queen with a Taurus moon, so I very, very much love the luxuries of a good sexual appetite. um, but I also, again, really need to credit my parents in that they sexuality and sexual exploration was never off the table. It was something that was always very openly talked about in our home, and, like, safety first, and, but also, yes, like, you are a person that, like, has desires, and, like, sexuality for me isn't just about, like, sexual intercourse. It's about meeting those desires of life in that pleasure response, right? Like, yes, I want this. This is something, maybe you want to travel everywhere. To me, that would be like a sexual desire, in a sense of, like, it's coming from that sacral, that womb space, that, like, that area of creativity type of thing, right? So, yeah, at 25, I had my very first nude photo shoot. So, and that was after I was diagnosed, because my friend Amy, and if you are a follower of mine, you will know I work with them quite often. And I had a conversation with her and said, I need to see myself. I need to see my body. I need to see everything. And she was like, okay, let's do this. So, first photo shoot. And by the end of it, I was like fully spread eagle, and I'm just like, yeah, take all the photos. I wish the files are corrupt now, so I can't find it.
Oh.
But yeah, it is something that, my sexual presence, I like to call myself the muse now, because I think that it allows the opportunity. Well, what is a muse but someone who can stand in the creativity of life, and other people can see their own reflection in that creativity and then pull out what they need to pull out from that. Um, and so, being a larger woman that I was, and posting nude photos of myself, or half nude photos, or, kind of more sexually explicit, kind of teasing type of photos. Yeah, a lot of women followed me because they were like, I want to embody that. I want to be able to see the sensuality of self and not feel ashamed to walk into that and hold that energy where, my personal experience and a lot of the women that I speak to, that's been taught out of them, holding that sensual experience that is the feminine, that holding experience, right? Um, so yeah, I think moving from a bigger body and gradually becoming a smaller body, I can see that as a betrayal to people because my body very much, I would say, resembles that of more Hollywood accepted, socially accepted now. Um, and it can be a sticky place, even for myself, to look at myself, feel joy, feel sexy, feel like, yeah, I want to, I want to wear this. I want to, I want to flaunt my sensuality. I definitely feel a lot bigger in that energy now. There's more room for me to express that now because I'm not having to hold the energy of like, fuck you, I'm bigger and I'm sexy. I can just be like, fuck you, I'm sexy and I'm going to hold that. But yeah, I get it. I can understand that betrayal because when we look at conventional pretty, um I would say I fit more into that box now, and that I know if 25-year-old me, and I've had this experience where 25-year-old me, I've had to sit together and be like, you might have let us down just a little bit. And it's like, again, I can understand that. I can understand why you feel that way. And I'm sorry that you feel that way. Um, but there is a lot of liberation that I'm experiencing as well. And shame is definitely there in some aspects, but I can't let shame run my life because unfortunately 25-year-old me, you let a lot of shame run your life. And it helped us get here, but I can't personally hold that for you anymore. So yeah.
I'm wondering how we're kind of tiptoeing around the edges, and your story is helping us understand a lot of the emotions you may have felt as you've gone through a few of these phases. Can we dig into the rebel in these spaces as well?
Mm,
Like what did that feel like to you at 25? How did that transform over those years? How does it feel to you today? What does
sure.
that inner rebel feel like?
So for me, I would say my inner rebel has been consistent in the sense from 25 to now. I even when I'm tuning into myself right now, it's like, no, it's always been there. Rebel is calling out. Okay, to me, rebel is holding people accountable for how they show up in this world and how they say they're going to show up in this world. And that includes myself. So, if I'm saying to someone, I'm going to call you on Tuesday, right? And I don't call you, and then you say to me, hey, I was really looking forward to that phone call, and I felt this way about it, right? Hurt, whatever, let down. Um, I need to be able to stand in that and be like, yeah, you're right. You have every right to feel that way. And I'm sorry, period. No excuses. I said I was going to do something. I didn't do it. And you're right. So it's rebel to me is accountability, right? Holding yourself in this integral and moral accountability, whatever that looks like. A deepening of that for me would be that is an understanding of who your true self is within that accountability. And that's always ever flowing, ever changing, right? But for me, it really it really is this place of I don't actually give a fuck if you don't like me, because I like me. And if it offends you that I'm unbothered, that I don't like you, good. Because you just reinforced for me that, like, I don't want you in my sphere. Like, does that make sense? Like if I'm being like, that's really what it is. It's being rebel is being so unapologetically you that you're like, I'm willing to stand alone, but I don't want to. Like, I want people here. Um, And so I'm going to keep showing up as me and being honest and being accountable to what my needs are so that I give people the opportunity to actually be able to say, "Hey, I can show up like that or not," right? So that I guess is what rebellion would be for me, because I don't think, or I shouldn't say that. I think we are getting to a tipping point, to use your words, Aaron. I like that. A tipping point in society where more and more socialized women are stepping into that, like, CEO, boss girl, we might be able to say, kind of mentality of like, no, I'm following my pleasure. I'm following what makes me feel good. And that is going to be extremely nuanced and have a lot of different personalities within it. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with all these different versions of me that get to show up day in and day out and being like, yeah, I'm fine with it. And if you're not sorry, see you later. That makes sense.
Did you feel that as a child, like always, or like when you talked about the codependency with your mom and the dieting and the feelings and thoughts around your body, or did that evolve or maybe even show up when you were started reclaiming yourself in 25?
So I would say that I've always felt that way as a child, but maybe not within my family of origin. So it was a lot easier for me to be a rebel in society or in friend groups or, with other adults, than it was within my family of origin. It was a lot harder for me to hold the boundary of rebel in my family of origin. And I would say that me not giving a fuck as a child of what other adults or other children thought of me got me in a lot of trouble in the sense that, like, um, I would have teachers be like, you can't speak to me that way. And I would say, but you're speaking to me that way. So I would say, so I don't see a difference. And well, it's different because I hold authority. And I would say, to who? Not to me. And again, that was something that, like, my parents did raise me as, right? I want you to have a voice, and I want you to know when your inner voice is saying no. But they were also very, more my mother than my father was more like, do what I say, not what I do, or not here. Like, you can have a voice, but not here. I am the ultimate
Not at home.
authority. Yeah.
That's
So it's kind
confusing.
of like a
Yeah,
yes
right.
and. Yeah, it's kind of like a yes and.
So she may have believed it in theory, but there, to hold that type of relationship as a parent, you really have to be willing to do your own work on that side of receiving that from a child, your
Sure.
child especially.
Yeah. And, I will say I do think she was doing the best she could with what she had, what she was trying to navigate in her own life, that, like, as a child I wasn't privy to for certain things. But yeah, it was very hard for my mother to see, I would say, both my sister and myself as something separate than her, where my father was very much, especially, I would say around the age of 10, because I do think, before the age of 10, you are having to kind of, there is a lot more, like, I know you want to do that, but unfortunately I do have to be the parent here, and, like, no, and like, yeah, I want you to have your own authority. And I'm sure that that's nuanced even after 10. You know, you're trying to protect children. I don't have children, so I'm speaking to this simply from a child's point of view, like an adult child's point of view. But my dad very much was like, around 10, yeah, I do need to kind of let the leash out a little bit, because you do need to fall. You do need to make your mistakes.
Mhm.
And I would rather be a safe place for you to land than shelter you, because ultimately we're not going to be here one day. And I don't want you, I would say he wouldn't want us to be a burden on society. In reality, that's probably really what it was. Where my mother, I would say, had really kind of seen us as like friends, and but like friends that she like made. So it almost sometimes felt like I was like a doll that she could like pick up and play with sometimes, and then be like, "Okay, I'm done with you. Like, go ahead, go do your own thing." So yeah, it was hard. It was a hard separation with my mom, in trying to learn that boundary of like, you don't have to like this, and like, I understand that what I might be saying to you right now hurts, but also I love you so much that I need you to know how this is affecting me. And I would love for us to come to an understanding of what that might look like in the future.
You're quite fortunate in having your mother. I don't know if she modeled it for you or encouraged you to use your voice and to foster that rebel, um, even if she couldn't allow it in the home, to be supported in that way in society.
Mm-hmm.
So many of us are, that part of us is silenced, and we
Mm-hmm.
turn into people pleasers, and it's all about what society needs and how you're going to fit into society. And all of our parents gift us these things in different ways,
Sure.
and they all have their own wounding and things that they haven't been able to look at or didn't even know to look at, right? Like, it's never about blaming the parents, but for me, it's really been when I look back and I see these moments, it's like, I would not be who I am today if positive or negative, you
Yeah,
know what
sure.
I mean? And
Yeah.
I so love who I am today that I receive all of that. And I feel that all of that was a blessing that brought me to here. So I just wanted to acknowledge, and I'd heard you say it, like, about your mom. She did the best that she could with what she had, but to be encouraged so young to set those boundaries, I don't see that often. I really don't. Especially not
Yeah.
in our generation. I'm a
Yeah.
little older than the two of you, but like the late, becoming mothers to late mothers and to early wild women, a lot of women were not given that advantage.
Yeah.
So it may seem cruel or cold to some people when you're speaking that. So to you, what may seem so obvious as a right,
Yes.
but to them, you're acting so outside of how so many of us were taught to show up.
Yeah.
I am loving this conversation,
Yeah.
and we have so much more to talk about. So we are going to pick this up in a part 2.
We get to hear a lot more from Karina. If you're a people pleaser,
You will want to listen
you
to
want to
this.
listen to the
Yes.
part 2 as well. We'll see you next week on the Red Couch.
Thank you so much for joining us on the Red Couch. We would love if you would head on over and subscribe to the podcast and leave us a review. It helps us tremendously as we rebel against the status quo of disconnection. We need you. We appreciate you. You can also head on over to our website, redcouchrebels.com, to send us a note and explore your inner rebel with us on our online network. We'd love to see you there.